Beginning of my video. Boom!
Welcome back to Boring Reviews.
Boring land.
Oh, just kidding.
Blasphemer!
Hello,
right.
Boring Review Nation!
Kind of pointless.
We know all things. It was over in a snap.
We really want it. Alright, we'll be nice.
Only you can be a Patreon.
Oh my gosh!
You don't need to follow the show to be hyped.
Hello, Boring Review Nation! Gabe!
Nick.
Obviously, there's a little bit of a lag going on, but that's all right. We're going to work through it. Actually, I was laughing at the intro you and Jody did the other day because I've done that almost so many times, and I always catch myself, and I'll be like, "Hello, Boring Review Nation," and I want to say Nick. It's like, wait, no, I'm Gabe. Gabe, and the one where she introduced herself as Nick, and that was pretty cute. So I was like, man, I've done that so many times, but not scripted, just accidentally. And I'm like, oh, I gotta catch myself.
And that wasn't scripted either. I was just going like, okay, this is what she's doing here. Let's do it. She gave me no warning.
That's awesome. Well, what are we here to review today, man? Or react to, I should say.
So I put a post on our community page as recording this last night, and I was frustrated because I couldn't find Dewar anywhere for us to watch it with subtitles. And we've got a lot of awesome viewers that are trying the movie with the subtitles, which is great. But I asked the question, we want to do some classics like once a month. I think that was someone else's idea. It was a great idea. What are some classics that we should start with? Yeah. And so, of course, Dewar, we got another film called Anand that was requested quite a bunch by a bunch of different people. And so this is a 1971 film. Wow. We want to go to the history. We want to go to, some of the older films, those classics, like I mentioned. This looks like it's another Big B film. And Gabe picked it up right away. That's Big B from 40 years ago. Yeah. And no, we have not watched the trailer yet, but he just pulled it up and was trying to get it to the very beginning and noticed that. So that was cool. So we're going to react to this trailer. Now, this is a trailer from YouTube Movies from that channel. I don't have a lot of faith with this channel because it always says trailer, then it's a scene. But this was something that's the only thing on there actually with subtitles. And it was something that Jabby Kowe reacted to, the same exact one. So I feel like we're in good company. So we're going to react to this video. Let us know your love for this film without any spoilers. I want to know, why is this so well beloved? Is it because it's got iconic songs, iconic lines? What is so special about this movie? And let us know if we can't get Dewar, this should be definitely the first classic that we watch in the near future.
All right. So we're going to count this down in 3, 2, 1.
मुझे जिंदगी बड़ी होनी चाहिए, लंबी नहीं. Do you know the meaning of lymphosarcoma? मेरे पेट में भयानक किस्म का ट्यूमर है, जिसकी वजह से मैं 6 महीने से ज्यादा जिंदा नहीं रह सकता. मौत एक पल है बाबू मुझे. आने वाले 6 महीने में जो लाखों पल मैं जीने वाला हूं, उसका क्या होगा? मैंने तेरे लिए ही 7 रंग के सपने चुने. मेरा भी कोई नहीं, तुम्हारा भी कोई नहीं. जब तक हूं, अपने पास ही रहने दो ना. सब लोग आपको सिस्टर क्यों बुलाते हैं? मदर बुलाना चाहिए. मैं मदर मैट्रन बुलाऊंगा. तुझे क्या आशीर्वाद दूं बहन? ये भी तो नहीं कह सकता मेरी उम्र तुझे लग जाए.
Okay.
That was short and sweet. It was tough to react to that because, this is I'm not sure if this was the original trailer or if this was something that was created by somebody else.
Right.
When you go back to original trailers, even for movies from the 80s and 90s, early 90s, they're not really much to watch. They're not much to look at. I think the first great anticipated trailer was for Batman 1989. People were going to movies just to watch the trailer, and then they would leave. And so, if this was an original trailer, hats off for different segments, different pieces. If this was created by someone else, it was hard to follow. But it seems like the whole purpose of this movie is this guy has a short amount of time to live, and he's trying to figure out what to do with that time and who to talk to. It's got a lot of monologues, it looks like, which can be a good thing, could be a bad thing. Of course, there's so much excitement and love for this film. I can't imagine it's a bad thing. What were some of your thoughts?
Initially, the same thing. As far as the trailer is concerned, this thing was cut really, really weird. If this was the original trailer, kind of hard to follow. However, it's so funny you mentioned that. Today, we're hanging out in the living room, whatever. My nephew's here, and I'm flipping through Amazon. And you know how you can watch movies and watch their previews or whatever. And I happen to go on Cobra. And Savannah had never seen Cobra. So I was like, oh, let me let you watch the trailer. And bro, the trailer is absolute trash. And it's the same voiceover guy from the 70s and 80s that did every single trailer. In a world where blah, 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 blah. He's a cop who doesn't play by the laws. Boo, boo, boo. Meet Marion Cobra. Cobra. I was like, this was... And I told her, do not pay attention to that trailer because this movie was awesome. So I think that, like you said, trailers, you know what I mean?
I don't know if she's going to like Cobra too much. I enjoy Cobra. I don't know if your wife, I'm not sure if she likes action films from the 80s or whatever.
No, she really doesn't.
Cobra is no joke, especially that beginning. I think it's one of the beginning scenes where he's in the supermarket and he's stopping that one guy. I mean, that is so over the top, but it's so beautiful.
Watch, I'm telling you, after we finish recording this, and everybody that once you guys watch this video, go on Amazon, look up Cobra. You don't got to watch the movie, but then click on the trailer and watch how horrible this trailer is. It's atrocious, absolutely a mitigated disaster. So I'm not going to take this trailer that we just saw to say that is it Abundan? Yeah, or Anand? Anand. Okay, Anand is not going to be a good film. We have to watch it. My other thing that I noticed right away was, like you said, a lot of monologues, and a lot of my favorite movies from that time period, classics, 70s, 80s, even early 90s, have unbelievable monologues. It's what you remember. The other day I went off when we recorded Capone, right? Whenever we recorded the Capone reaction, and I can remember that monologue. No joke, didn't have to look it up. This was just straight remembering it from the movie The Untouchables. Look at that. I remember the monologue, but couldn't remember the name of the title of the movie. And sometimes dialogue, it's amazing. Same thing in I won't do the monologue from that movie that's my favorite, but it involves a breakfast scene in one of Tarantino's actually earliest movie, Reservoir Dogs, and they're all sitting around and they're talking about how this one guy doesn't tip, all right, and it's just people having normal conversation, and it is absolutely amazing. So when it comes to older films, a lot of times they didn't have, I would say, the budget for all the big, CGI, or really they just didn't even have CGI available to them at that time. So they had to go with a lot of practical effects and actual acting, actual writing. Writing was so important. I feel that where a lot of films today struggle with or fail, the story is where most old movies were the best. I just saw Aliens 2. Aliens 2 is probably, in my opinion, the second best sequel other than T2. Okay, normally sequels are never as good as the original, unless we're talking about Terminator 2 Judgment Day and Aliens 2. Aliens 2 is absolutely amazing, but it's the dialogue.
It's not Aliens 2, it's just Aliens.
Aliens, right, because the original
the first one, Alien.
Yes, the next one was Aliens. And the dialogue, man, was amazing. So I like that they had those monologues there, and it seems like it's a pretty serious subject matter. We did right away say, oh, there's Big B. I do not recognize the other actor, and but it looks like he's actually going to be the main star of the film. So we'll see how it is.
I don't think Big B was a big star in 1971. Sholay came out in 75, 77, something like that. Talking about movies with bad trailers, you ever seen the original Star Wars trailer? Something to write home about. Talking about monologues, I'm not a film student. I never have been, so I'm not going to claim to be an expert on classic films, especially here in Hollywood. But it seems to me that a lot of films in the the 40s, 50s, 60s mirrored that of theater, because in theater you have a whole lot of monologue. It's all about monologue for a lot of the case, and can that actor deliver that monologue and show that range? And
Right.
so it seems like this movie is very dramatic as far as the theater, as far as how that monologue is delivered. But you're right, monologues are something that have gone away in a lot of ways in movies today. The style back then, like you said, not a lot of action. It's all about the writing. I love writing in films. I notice whether, in my opinion, whether I like the writing or I don't like the writing.
Right.
But we go away from it so much. That's why Quentin Tarantino is not so much an anomaly. He is so good at writing with his style that when people watch it, they may not even realize it's the writing they love, but it's the writing they love because it makes it so much more interesting. Talking about Tarantino and Pulp Fiction, where they're having that little discussion about the quarter pounder with cheese and the Royale with cheese.
Right.
No one would have thought about that kind of dialogue. Nobody. That was Tarantino. And when you think about it, you think, that was such a weird, random line of dialogue, but it was done so perfectly, and it was telling a story in its own way. We get away from that way too much.
Well, that's what I think the best thing about Tarantino is the way he writes dialogue, the way he writes. He must have a lot of experience around other people, or maybe he brings a lot of people, but because he writes the way people really speak, okay? He writes what people random dudes do talk about, you know what I mean? He writes what random relationships are like. I really like one of my favorite characters that he's done is Seth Gecko from Dusk Till Dawn, and just the way that he delivered each and every line, it was so amazing. And I'm like, this was amazing. You forget that it was a horror movie, actually, you know what I mean? But it was the acting that was so amazing in it. And that's what I'm saying. But you got to give him something to work with. And that's what strong monologues do. We will see if Anand has that. Here's another question for you. What makes a movie a classic? Is it like a car where you could call any car a classic? Because what is it? 20 years, and once it's 20 years old, you can slap that classic license plate on it and call it a classic? Or does it have to have a certain amount of fanfare, notoriety, following? Did it have to make a certain amount of money? Because a lot of my favorite movies are cult classics, which did not get received well at the movie theaters, didn't do well, but then caught a following after people started watching them at home release.
My answer to that is it has something to do with box office. It has everything to do with it needs to be an older film. Now, old, that's subjective. That's according to each personal opinion. What's old, what's not. When I was a kid, we called oldies songs from the 60s, 50s, and 70s. That was 20, 30 years earlier. Now, 20, 30 years earlier is the 90s. Do we consider that oldies? No, we don't. So it's all subjective. But for me, a classic is a film that you would learn about in a film class, is a film that, was the mark in some aspect, was something that people are still talking about to this day. Those are the classics, not just old movies that nobody cared about, not just old movies that may have been blockbusters that nobody cares about. Shawshank Redemption, even though that came out in the 90s, I would consider that a classic because it did not do well in the box office, but everyone recognizes it for the film that it is. Other classics in Hollywood, at least, you're talking about On the Waterfront. You're talking about Godfather. You're talking about Psycho or Rear Window and those Hitchcock films. Those are classics because they're old and they are still being talked about, still being studied, and still being loved to this day. That's how I consider it a classic.
You know what's a classic that I've never gotten? I'm sorry, and I'm going to get crushed right now. All right. But whatever, I'm honest. We are blatantly honest on this channel. As educators, we feel we got to present ourselves certain ways. That's just the bottom line. But everybody loves is it Kubrick's?
Stanley Kubrick.
Stanley Kubrick. Okay. I've watched that film. I can't tell you how many times, and I don't get it. What is it?
2001.
Yeah, 2001, Space Odyssey. I don't get it. I know people. It's a masterpiece. It's a classic. Okay, I mean, a creepy robot voice with no, you know what I mean, personality. There's like baby Jesus at the end of the movie. I don't understand this film.
I still, let me tell you this, I have not had enough interest to even want to watch it. I've never seen it before. But I've heard a lot of what you're saying. It is still a classic because people, I mean, they live and die by this movie. But I completely understand what you're saying. But I haven't seen it because I haven't had much interest in seeing it. The only thing I know is, you know, the whole baby fetus thing in the music that's so popular. But anyway, this trailer reaction has gone on so long. We just love talking about this stuff. If you're still watching, then go ahead and tell us in the comment section what's your favorite color so we know who's paying attention. But if you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe and let us know what are those classics. I want to get a list going. So if we do one a month, we have enough for the next year. And it's going to go by the ones that have the most votes because those are the ones that have the most interest. But with all that being said, have a safe day, have a safe night, and until next time.
We know all things.